Well. Welcome into the Heady Ducks post-game show. I am Todd Fox, joining you a little bit later than usual. The game ended about 30 to 45 minutes ago, but I was finishing up a scheduled crime show where the crime show podcast took precedence because it was hard to get the people involved in on the show for live performances before that. So I had to take it where I could. And I was watching the hockey game in between, and there wasn't much to watch. So this game reminded me of a couple seasons ago, or even last season, when the Ducks were kind of hapless and they go down 2 goals and they had no chance. This is probably the first time all season that the Ducks went down a couple goals, and you can get the vibe from about midway through the second period it's not going to be their night. And it's pretty much wasn't. Once St. Louis got the 3-goal lead, I was like, oh my God. So first things first, welcome into the show. Hopefully your comments are there. What's up, my man EQ right there says sad day. Look, this team wasn't going to win every game the rest of the way, but obviously going now 7-2 on the homestand, picking up 14 out of possible 18 points is very, very commendable. They played very good hockey. Husso was in net tonight. I don't think on all actuality, it was Husso that cost him the game. I think in this game, Hoffer was just really good, and he only faced 22 saves. However, if you look at what the Ducks did offensively, they were bullied around. St. Louis spent a lot of time in the Ducks zone. The Ducks turned it over a lot. And it was just also a poorly played game. You had a couple fights that led to a 5-minute major. You had plenty of penalties, though, that came the Ducks' way, and they just couldn't generate any offense. You had a couple shots by Carlson that were point blank that had an opportunity but couldn't find the net. You had a couple, really good saves. But if you think about it, I mean, again, St. Louis had 27 minutes of penalties, dude, and you couldn't capitalize one time. And the Ducks had 14 penalty minutes. That's a lot themselves, but keep in mind 5 were because of that 5-minute boarding major. So you did have a lot of penalties that should not have been, but they were. And then you had a lot of opportunities, and I don't blame Husso a lot. He got helped out between the pipes a lot, though. This game could have been really bad. It could have been about 6-0 at least, or maybe even 7-0 without the empty netter. There was a couple fortunate bounces off the post. There also was some good saves by Husso. But in all actuality, they got off a lot of shots on the netminder and just couldn't get it done. And a real interesting stat that I heard when I first turned it on, because I couldn't find where they were playing it first, and I looked on the St. Louis feed. And the St. Louis feed basically came out and said, the St. Louis Blues aren't having the best season this year, which they're not. This was barely their 58th and 59th point in the victory. But you look at what happened. I was watching the St. Louis Blues because the Ducks started their pregame right at 6 o'clock. But the St. Louis Blues broadcast had it at 5:30. So while I was making dinner, I was watching one of the stats, and they were coming out, and the guy says, hey, you know what? The St. Louis Blues, no matter how good or how bad they've been over the last few years, they've won something like 13 out of the last 14 in Anaheim. I'm like, holy shit, 13 out of 14. That's a lot. That's like total domination, man. Like, how is it that the St. Louis Blues of all teams has a streak of 13 out of 14 at the Honda Center? And I was tripping. I'm like, nah, but that doesn't apply to this year. So in pregame, I was like, okay, we're gonna prove these morons wrong. St. Louis, we already played them once in St. Louis and beat them 4-1. It wasn't even that close. So St. Louis, they're having an off year. The Ducks should take advantage after a big win the other night against Montreal. They had a day off, so it's not like a back-to-back. Yes, you don't have Dostal in there, but Husso's been playing good. So I figured St. Louis is not the best overall team. They should buck that trend and get a W tonight at the Honda Center. Well, not so much. And the Ducks got bullied. And again, they committed a lot of penalties, which they've been very good at not doing recently. And then St. Louis was causing all sorts of penalties, very undisciplined, and they still come away with a 4-0 win. So, I mean, if you look at the stats again, 35 shots on goal for St. Louis. They were pestering Husso all night. Only 22 shots for the Ducks. The Ducks out hit the Blues 20-8. And like I said, they had double the penalty minutes and still did not get off a good enough rush against the freaking St. Louis Blues, who traditionally suck on defense. Again, Chicago is last place with 57 points. The St. Louis Blues have 59 points, just 2 points out of the cellar, where the Ducks have 73 points. They've been red hot, and they get the loss. Now, again, Vegas did not play tonight, so I think Edmonton got a dub tonight, so they're up to 70 points. But Vegas did not play tonight, so your Ducks are still in first place. They're still 10 games over 500, still a phenomenal start to the season as we push towards the postseason. They're in first place, but this is probably one of their ugliest losses of the season. They've had a couple ugly losses, and this is just one of the few. And I'm hoping that their next game that they have, which is on the road, they have a 4-game trip up in Canada, which we talked about, and I'll touch on here in a few minutes. They got to get right against those Canadian teams because, again, you could have finished, even if you lose tonight, losing 4-3 or something like that, or maybe you even scratch across a pity point. You feel much better. You feel much better about themselves and about yourself, I should say, when you would go on the road. But you get blanked like this, and you look very just off, dude. They looked very off tonight. So with that being said, they got one more game with these guys about a month from now, and it's going to be back at the Honda Center. Now, keep that in mind for the next time that they play, because St. Louis Blues in the last 15 appearances at the Honda Center are now 14-1. So for some reason, the Blues have our number at the Honda Center. So hopefully on April 3rd, which I think is opening night for Angels baseball as well, the Ducks and the Angels can get a victory on the same night. The Angels can expel some of those Blues, stop singing the Blues, and defeat them finally at Honda Center. And hopefully the Angels can win game 1 at home of their homestand to start the 2026 season. So with that being said, let's go over who scored the goals tonight. And you might as well do the 3 stars right off the bat, because I have a feeling there's not going to be much Ducks on this one. So with that being said, let's get to the scoring on this one. Jordan Kyrou, his 15th of the year assist from Neighbors and Fowler. Cam Fowler, remember that guy? Yep, he used to play here with the Ducks. That assist led to the first goal of the game, 4:22 into the second period. This game was decided in the second period. Jonathan Duran then scored his 4th on the power play, assisted from Broberg, and Snuggard, his 17th, made it 2-0. Then Snuggard jumped in with another goal himself, his 12th. Assisted by Robert Thomas and Dylan Holloway, all household names, might I add, I should say. And then plus, what a name, Plus Sutter, his 9th of the year, empty net, assisted from Buchnevich and Hall, and that made it 4-0. So they won on a grand slam. Your 3 stars are as follows. I'm gonna give it to Jimmy Snuggard for his 12th of the year, and then and he also had an assist. And then we're going to give it to Cam Fowler the second, because he makes his return to the Anaheim and gets an assist right away. And the number 1 star is the goaltender for the St. Louis Blues, who got the job done tonight, and that is Joel Hofer. 22 shots against, 22 saves. He had a bunch of penalty minutes to kill. No problem for him. He gets the W tonight, and the Ducks go down 4-0. So again, tough way to lose. And if anything, we'll just I guess we'll give the Hoser Award to a team effort. I don't think, and I hate to be hard on this team because again, they've had such a phenomenal season. So I'm not going to like yell and scream and be like, this team sucks. You're due for a bad game. It's just unfortunate it came against a bad team themselves. Oz says the Blues gave me the blues, and they got the job done tonight. Unfortunately, and gave the Ducks blues. Thank you right there, DJ Paz, right for the donation. Really appreciate that, homie. Also, Jesus says the Ducks are still bad in goals difference, -10. That's weird for them having so many wins, but that's the weirdness of this game we love to watch. Getting back to it again, I want to take these guys on again, get the rubber match. We got one more opportunity to beat the St. Louis Blues. Like I said, later in the season, they're not going to the postseason. Hopefully, we are if we can just continue to play good hockey and moving forward. But the hoser of the night is not one person. Hosers of the night, that would be your overall team. I think this was a bad team effort tonight. This is one you just want to, if it's a piece of paper, the scorecard, whatever, you want to just crumble it up and throw it in the trash because this was a bad game. This is not one you want to be like, hey, let's watch the highlights. I think Coach Q's like, it's on to Canada, baby. It's on to Canada. And speaking of Canada, the next few games, one is going to be against the USA goalie who helped the USA men's hockey team get the victory. And that's going to be up in Winnipeg, 5:30 start on Tuesday. The Ducks look to reload, restock, reshuffle the board, whatever you want to say, regroup. They go to Winnipeg for a 5:30 game, and that will be let's see, on ESPN plus I think Victory and all that other stuff as well. And I will put that out there too, starting on Monday. We got to advertise for that. We got to advertise for the Zach Neto stuff in Anaheim that we're going to be doing next Saturday. So, man, I've got a busy week. I'm going to be at least two of these events that the Mighty Ducks Club are hosting. The watch parties for the road games. There's going to be giveaways, good food, good drinks. So I'll be posting that on our social medias, most likely TikTok, X, and as well as Instagram. To show you exactly where the places are to come chill and watch good Ducks hockey. We'll be doing the watch party at 3 different spots. So that's why you want to take a look at the banner. And also it has the information on where they're going to be, raffles, the whole nine. It's going to be pretty cool. Plus, I think a couple surprise visits as well. So Tuesday, March 10th against Winnipeg, again, 5:30 start. Well, I'll have the information on social media. Then Toronto, March 12th, that'll be the second watch party. The only watch party that we're not doing is Saturday the 14th. Like I said, I'll be out of town. I'll be in Arizona, Tempe. That will be a March 14th game, Saturday, 10 a.m., early start against Ottawa. And then, again, a rematch with those Montreal Canadiens who gave us everything they had. We gave them everything they had. We beat them in that fun overtime game just the other night on Friday. But this one will be Sunday, March 15th at Montreal, 4:00 start against them Canadians. Then they come home where we get a chance to look at Zegers for the first time as Philadelphia makes their first trip to the Honda Center to play the Ducks on March 18th. And then we go back on the road to Utah. So a lot of hockey still left to be played in general because there's about a good 20 games left now in the season and or just under that. And we're going to be fighting for points, but not bad. All things considered, the Ducks, although I brought up that stat earlier that showed that the Ducks are now 1-14 against the St. Louis Blues at Honda Center in their last 15 for whatever reason. The Ducks right now, with the loss here tonight, in their last 18 hockey games, they're 14-4. So after being dreadful losers of 9 in a row, they're 14-4. So they made up for that, the point lossage and everything else like that. Because if they won half of those games in the losing streak, you're talking about the Ducks having a double-digit lead in the point standings. But that's the way the season's gone, and that's okay. You can take a loss or two like this. It's okay. They've been, for the most part, winning more than they've been losing, and that's what you want. So again, 14-4 in their last 18. Get off the schneid and get a good start up there in Winnipeg and try to win at least 3 out of 4, maybe split, maybe go 2-1-1 if you have to on the Canadian tour, and I'm good with that. Come back home winning more than you lost and picking up a pity point if you have to. And but then again, when this team gets into overtime, they go into overdrive and they score a lot of goals and they defend really good, especially in the shootouts. If it gets to a shootout, I got my money on Husso or Dostal. They play amazing. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, a lot of hockey left to be played. Dominique's not with me tonight because Dominique was actually at the game and he was frustrated on many levels because he hasn't been to a game in a while. And they got beat down tonight 4-0. So it is what it is. You take one on the chin. Let's start it over once they go on the road trip. So that's the stats for tonight. That's what happened tonight. The Ducks did not get anyone in the 3 stars for the first time in quite some time. To go over the standings real quick before we jump on out of here, I want to get over here to the standings real quick for hockey. Why is it not pulling up? Always when I want to look at things, it's not pulling up. There we go. Full standings right there. Okay, so the only division that matters right now, the Ducks are 35-25, 73 points. Again, they're 22-10 at home, so this one was surprising. They're 13-15 on the road. Again, like Jesus said, they're -10 in the point differential, and that's kind of weird because if you look through all the teams in hockey right now, the only first place team, let alone second place team, to not have a plus in the plus minus. They are the only negative team. The Golden Knights are a +4 in second place. The Edmonton Oilers are +9 in third place. The Kraken are there at -9 in fourth place. San Jose -23. In the Central Division, the Avalanche are a +83. That's just ridiculous. Dallas Stars are a +47. Mind you, they're 9-0-1 in their last 10. +30 is Minnesota. +28 is Utah. And then you move over to the Metropolitan Eastern Division. You have Columbus at a +2, which Columbus, I can't believe they're playing this good. You got New York Islanders at +5. You got Pittsburgh at +25. Carolina at +41. And then you have 5 teams in the Eastern Conference with plus-minus points in the plus. Ottawa +14, Boston Bruins +12, +13 Montreal, +51 Tampa Bay Lightning, and +32 Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo Sabres been quietly really, really good. Buffalo and Tampa Bay, along with Carolina, that's just a strong Eastern Conference. A lot of good hockey to be seen come playoff time because there's a lot of good teams over there and some surprises with the Islanders and Blue Jackets, and quite possibly if Philadelphia can get themselves in the mix late. And then you got Dallas resurging over here in the West. Minnesota's very, very good, very physical. And then Colorado's just a juggernaut at this point. Nashville's not going to get there, but Utah, they may make the playoffs. They're on the cusp. They've won 3 in a row, helping themselves out a bit. Still got a ways to go. And then you got the Golden Knights, the Ducks, the Edmonton Oilers. I don't really count the Kraken or the Sharks. They're starting to fade a little bit, and the Kings sold off once they fired their coach. So a lot of good teams still left. So it's going to be very interesting down the stretch. The Ducks were very active. We've got some players coming back, so we've got some depth pieces. We'll just see how it plays out. So very much last thing I'll say on this game, tough to watch. It's always tough when your team gets shut out, no matter the sport. But they got manhandled tonight, and they had their opportunities. That's the problem. They had their opportunities and could not take advantage. So, again, just throw this one in the trash, and let's get back at it up in Canada. So with everybody, DJ Paz, thank you so much for helping out with that donation. It goes to all the other stuff we do here on Halos in the Infield. And we got a lot of surprises, a lot of things to talk about once baseball season comes around. And frankly, when hockey season gets to the postseason, if we're there, the Ducks are in it, we're going to be covering it, and it could be a nightly watch party. So we'll see. We can all join in the fun and have a good time with this team. So with that being said, this is Todd Fox talking Ducks hockey with you, and we'll be back at it on the next game. I'll see you soon.